Good afternoon. Welcome to our Sip and Pitch Friday. My name is Sean Franklin, and I am the Vice President of the Stakeholders Engagement Center here at NGLCC, and also co-lead of the Communities of Color Initiative. We want to thank you for coming to our program. Today, we're very excited with everything going on, and we've got some great LGBTBE, Black-owned, LGBT-owned suppliers who will be giving some pitching, and we have a great opportunity during our communities and conversation session. So today's judges, we have Sierra Lily, with she, her pronouns. Her title is Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion with Diversified Maintenance. And we also have Lance Dorsey, he, him pronouns, Director of Supply Diversity, Sony Pictures and Entertainment. We also have Terrence Frierson with he, him pronouns. He's the Director of Global Supplier Diversity with Bristol Myers Squibb. He may show up a little late. He's having some issues with the hotel he's in is having a power issue. So hopefully he'll be able to join us soon. And yes, those are our judges today. And a few rules and guidelines. So each company has 5 minutes to pitch, only one presenter from each participating company. Judges have 10 minutes for feedback and Q&A. No presentation, no problem. This program is designed to be informative or informal to provide real-time feedback for your company's pitch. If you're not speaking, please mute your microphones. Please mute your microphones. Team NGLCC will provide warnings at 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I believe we have Maxine who will be doing the time. So Maxine, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
As you can see, the timer is there. This is a judgment-free zone designated to help you enhance your pitch and grow your company. All feedback is shared in the spirit of collaboration. And the last thing, have fun. So before we get started, we also would like for everyone, if you could touch those 3 dots that's in the top right-hand corner of your image and rename yourself and add your pronouns so that we'll know how to address you. Thank you. So let's just go right into the program. Our first supplier is going to be Meek Productions Incorporated. So Miko Evans, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be here before you right now. This is my very first sip and pitch, and so excited. Once again, my name is Miko Evans. My pronouns are he, him, his, representing Atlanta, Georgia. I am the founder and executive producer of Meek Productions Incorporated. That's M-E-A-K as in kite, Productions with an S. We are the world's first LGBTQ exclusive talent agency and production company. We was originally created in 2003 and officially launched in fall of 2007. Our company, of course, is designed to provide the industry with top-notch and professional and experienced talent, and to provide the general public with tasteful, entertaining presentations that show a more professional, artistic, diverse, and more inclusive side of the LGBTQ+ community globally. For our talent, our goal is to provide a standard of excellence via the corporate business and entertainment industries by showcasing performing artists, models, actors, writers, visual artists, and social activists in a way that represent the beauty, diversity, and equality of the same gender love experience. Also, in the growing age of sexual diversity and public acceptance, we want to make sure that our LGBTQ talents and artists are provided with adequate and professional representation, training, coaching, support, and opportunities that best fit the growth of their brands and their careers. So we're very excited about what's in store for us. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of the conception of this brand. And we've come a long way. We have about, I think, a total of 3 divisions now, not just our talent agency division, but we also have our media division, which is celebrating 14 years this year. And through our media division, we have about 4 online syndicated radio shows and also corresponding YouTube talk shows along with that. We also have our special projects division where we actually are able to produce our own projects and special events in-house. And so not only are we able to provide services for the talent, we're also able to provide outside businesses and potential customers with services that fit their needs as it relates to entertainment, or as it relates to if they're in need of talents or any type of people to host their events or whatever, or if they're looking for entertainers to perform, we can provide that. We also provide services as well as videography and photography solutions as well as special events consulting solutions. Through our media division, we was able to make history starting here in Atlanta. We pioneered LGBT online radio here in Atlanta, thanks to our straight ally, the 10th Amendment Media Group. And so through them, we've been able to partner and become official media partners for a lot of renowned nonprofit organizations, starting here in the ATL, Georgia. This year, we will be celebrating 10 years of media partnership with Out on Film, Atlanta's largest LGBTQ film festival, as well as the Metro Atlanta Association of, the Metro Atlanta Association of Professionals, formerly known as the Atlanta Executive Network, which is Atlanta's first LGBTQ business association. So we're very excited about that and what's in store in the future. We're also known as marketing and advertising geniuses as it relates to making sure that not only our talents brand is marketed professionally, but also clients and customers that we work with. We're currently celebrating our 1-year anniversary in partnership with Peach Atlanta Magazine. We've become their official digital radio partner. So a lot is going on with us. We're very excited to provide services for your company and your business. And we're just looking forward to doing business with you all. We do have 3 short video presentations that we want to present to you. All of them are under at least, I think, 40 seconds long. Yeah, because I think about 3 and stuff like that. So if I can share, see if I can share a screen right quick. Hold on just a second. Ah, yes. Okay, making sure that everybody can see me. Can everybody see me still? Okay, cool. The first trailer you're going to see, this is our official commercial for our media division. And I think this was during the midst of our, was it our 10-year anniversary? Yeah. So we're going to start with this one first. Make sure that you.
Nico, can you turn it up? Please.
I see that my time is up, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop right there. And get everybody back with everything. So thank you all so much for your time. My time is up, right?
Yes.
Good. Make sure I was on time.
Thank you for that presentation, and very informative, Miko. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to our judges to give you a little feedback. So Sierra, why don't you start us off?
Afternoon, and thank you, Miko, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Very, very good presentation. I guess one thing I would say, just to give some feedback there, and I was taking notes as you were going along, there's a lot that you specialize in, right? And so it's very easy for people to lose focus on exactly what's your sweet spot, right? Mm-hmm. So I would, just as a piece of advice, maybe look at segmenting what are your core services that you want to focus on, right? And present those, because that will help us to get a better understanding of how you could fit within our organizations versus going through everything that you possibly have the capacity to do, right? Because then oftentimes the question becomes, you do a lot, but what are you really good at, right? Mm-hmm. And so to avoid that confusion, or to avoid, others saying, well, maybe he's spreading himself too thin, a piece of advice would be to, to segment what are your core competencies as an organization and lead in with those. So then we have more time to really understand how you can fit within our supply chains.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good points, by the way.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. Those great points that you made there. Lance.
Hello, Miko.
Greetings, Lance. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. You definitely have an amazing voice.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel you are definitely where you need to be in terms of your vocation. A lot of great things in your presentation. One thing that I loved is when you said we are known as marketing and advertising geniuses. I love that because so often small businesses are afraid to sort of toot their own horn, right? And if you don't promote yourself, who else is going to? So I love that you did that. What I would just say is, tell me more, because I wanted to hear more about how you guys are geniuses in that arena, right? Give me some examples or according to this client in this project, because I was on the hook then. I was like, okay, I definitely wanted to hear more. And I have a question for you. So are you definitely well-versed and sort of deeply entrenched in the Atlanta area, but do you service other areas, or are you just looking to provide support services in Atlanta?
Actually, to be honest with you, we have talents all over, including in the UK. So we're very excited about that. Of course, we started in Atlanta's my headquarters because I'm born and raised here. But we started online via the MySpace days. Remember that? And so that's how we actually became publicly, kind of known and stuff like that when we did our first casting call online via MySpace, and that's how it grew.
Perfect. So
yeah.
I would say make sure you share that, because if you only say Atlanta, someone like me who's based out of Culver City, California, I'm thinking, okay, well then maybe he's not going to be a good fit. But to hear that you have a broad span, that you can even source talent in the UK, and we have productions in the UK, that's great. Just make sure you don't sell yourself short on your geographic footprint. But I think other than that, really kudos. Last note was where I really started to pay attention to you is when you stopped reading. And I know you want to make sure you say those things the right way. But when you stopped reading and you were just talking to me, I felt more engaged. And I know you want to get that blurb out because there's important content there. Just kind of maybe shorten that that content so you're not reading as much and you're just talking to me. And I feel like it's more conversational that way and more engaging. But great job.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate all of this feedback. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Lance, for that feedback and great information that was given to me. And you took me way back with MySpace. Wow. You're number 5 on my list. Thank you.
Like I said, yeah, I'm older than I look, okay?
Me too.
Yeah, okay. We just know how to wear it well. Okay.
Anyway, thank you again for your presentation. We really appreciate it and for all you do. And we're always here to help you out here at NGLCC.
Thank you all to Sierra and also to Lance. Thank you all so much for the input. It's duly noted and very appreciative. So yes, yeah, I got the fine tune. Yes, I love it.
Great, thank you. So now we're going to go to our next presenter, Karen Prater-Jasmine with Inclusion Score Incorporated. Karen, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is, as Sean had said, Karen Prater-Jasmine. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am just pleased to be here today. Before I talk about the product that Inclusion Score has developed, I want to talk about the problem. So, because if I pitch to you a solution, I guess the question will be, let's make sure we all are on the same page about what it is the problem is. And I'm talking about corporate culture and the lack of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in those spaces. And for many years, if you ask any single one of us, what is diversity? What is inclusion? What is equity? We would all, be really delighted to say, I have a custom answer. I have an answer that fits my experience. Well, the only problem with that is if we don't have standard answers, and standard definitions of a thing, then how do we know that we really are measuring our solutions to it? How do we know that we can approach it in a way that we can take that same solution to the next corporation? And so for that reason, we developed a product that seeks to help corporations to become more inclusive, diverse, and not just diverse. I mean, I guess in a room right now, we're all diverse. I mean, I'm a woman, I'm in Atlanta. I have 3 children, 4 dogs, and that makes me a little bit different than you. But that's not what we're after here. We're after being more equitable in our corporate spaces, and we're also after being included in opportunity. And so to that end, I want to start sharing my screen so I can share some things with you. All right, so let's talk about the things that have happened in the past. So, oh, no, don't want to do that. So in the past, we have seen where DFS in New York has said diversity is an issue that we really need to tackle. And in March of last year, they issued a governance, and they said that we really need to look at diversity in a way that's standardized. And I'm scrolling through this obviously, but I would love to be able to share this with you in the link, and I will do so later. And it's a business imperative, we all know that, but here is the statement that really got everybody's attention, that it really is a matter of risk. And so heretofore, our efforts in inclusion included training, and it was episodic, and it was, because we got this rock star on our staff, but the real issue is it is risk when we don't have good inclusion. And then let's talk about another issue that we have to deal with, and that is insurers are having to pay out large amounts of lawsuits, somewhere in the area of $5 billion each year. Why? Because people are leaving under counsel, because their rights are being infringed, they're whistleblowers and they get retaliated against. And so for that reason, we can't just leave our definitions to diversity all over the map, but we have to have a real way that we approach it. So then, and where's my little slide about, I'm sorry, but anyway, the ISO 3000 came out last year, and here is our answer to that. I'm going to log into our portals to give you a live run through. It's on a 2-factor authentication, so I gotta come on phone. I gotta get a password. Okay, 068376. Okay, and so this is what we developed. The first thing that you'll do when you're with our group is to take a guided assessment, and it's asking you everything from how do you govern your company, their roles and responsibilities, where's diversity as it relates to the HR life cycle, and there's hundreds of questions, literally. Sorry. There are questions about the products that you develop, which is very important because we can't just have diversity being in our recruitment, retention, and succession planning, but it really has to be evident in all of the products that we develop, even if you're a city, even if you're a hybrid, public-private partnership. And then finally, it's going to ask you questions about other stakeholders that are in your universe, because it's not good enough for you to be committed to diversity. It really is an issue if everyone in your supply chain, all of your employees, and everyone in the C-suite is talking this talk and walking the walk. When you take that this assessment, you're going to be comparing yourself to others that are in the universe. So now it's not waiting for some annual charity event to come up to say who scored the best, but actually we're talking about asking in real time from data that we get from DOL. We watch proceedings that come from federal, state, and local to know how you're doing. And then what do? We come up with a score, and we use artificial intelligence, not just asking those questions, but we let computers rush the numbers and say, here is where your here's how you score. It's on a 4.0 scale, and you'll get to, know here are the top questions domains that you should be addressing as it relates to diversity, inclusion, and belonging. We will also show you where you're, I'm sorry?
Your 5 minutes is up.
Oh, that was quick. Well, I'm going to end by saying you have a lot of information that will help you to make decisions, about what you need to do and not just some ad hoc thing. So I will conclude there and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. And thank you for a lot of good information there. Appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and start with Lance this time.
Karen Prater Jasmine, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing
First,
I'm
I
doing
want to
great.
commend you for your resilience on twofold. So individuals not part of this call previously didn't know that Jasmine is actually out of sequence. She wasn't supposed to go until later today and has rushed to come forward to fill this time slot. So thank you so much for that. You are to be commended.
No problem.
And then also your resilience with the pop-ups got away from you, but you didn't let it fluster you. You took a breath and you kept going. So I appreciate that you powering through that. Love so much of what you said. I mean, this is an area that's very dear to my heart, right? Because it's no longer about diversity. We know that the diverse mix is there. It's about the equity and inclusion and dismantling the systems that have kept people who have historically been marginalized out of the C-suite. And how do we make sure that we have that representation all over? So loved everything you said. And I also love your very systematic approach to helping businesses get to where they need to be in terms of that equity and inclusion. I see so much of myself in you in terms of presentation styles, because I love to bring receipts when I come to talk to you about something. I'm not telling you something that I made up. I'm going to show you the article and the page. What I would tell you to do is, what I've learned to do rather is screenshots, especially for live demo systems, because you never know if the internet might go out or a login doesn't work. Screenshot those things and put them into a PowerPoint slide, and things will just roll a lot smoother for you. You can even sequence them so that way you're not searching on the screen. But loved that you brought the credibility with bringing the receipts to the table. I thought the passion was very clear on what you're talking about. I think those fine-tuned things will help you just be able to take that breath and have a smooth presentation. But I appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing. This is awesome.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you for the feedback.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lance. That was great feedback. And yes, to piggyback on what he said, thank you, Karen, for, coming in. And she was not expecting to be doing this particular hour, but we had someone who couldn't make it and she switched at the very last minute. So thank you very much for helping us out there.
No worries.
Sierra.
Karen, I'm excited. This is timely for us as an organization. So I'll start with saying that let's be sure to have a conversation after this because this is something that we're certainly interested in. So I want to lead in with that. The second part, and I agree with Lance. One of the things I wrote down was, we're in an age right now where everyone's attention span is very limited, right? And so while we're very passionate about this and we're engaged, and you hooked us with starting with the problem, right, that you're solving, which I thought was really smart. The way that things are structured when you're pulling articles and you're using different platforms to show us and walk us through it can oftentimes distract more than it actually enhances, your presentation. So that was something that I wrote down, and I actually wrote down screenshots. So Lance, I was with you 100% on that. And I think if we walk through it in a presentation form, we could give it more attention, right? And it would help us to really see what you're able to offer. And so that was certainly a good piece of feedback that I shared with Lance. I think another piece that I would have loved to see is when you're talking about the problem, actually maybe incorporating some case studies. So, here's a client that we worked with. This was the problem that they had. Make it relatable to something that maybe we're experiencing as, corporations, and say, here's how we help them solve this problem. Because what that'll do for me specifically is it allows me to have something that I can connect to and say, okay, we're having the same dialogue, we're having the same issue. The article's great, but when we hear it from, here's a client we actually supported and we were able to do ABC to arrive at this solution, then it certainly piques our interest a little bit more. And I think it would help to build a little bit more engagement during these types of settings. But outside of that, I think it was really great to see the actual assessment, walk through it. Love that, the demo effect. But those are just some things that I made note of. But again, let's connect, let's talk through it, because this is something that we're actually looking at right now So I think it's a great opportunity for us to possibly collaborate.
Thank you, Sierra. Thanks for the feedback. I do appreciate it. And I'm going to incorporate that. 5 minutes is, you might as well say it 30 seconds.
It's tough.
Wait a minute. We give a pitch. I give like pitches 12 a day. No lie. And I shove my life into 20 minutes. So when they said 5 minutes, I was like, well, it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah.
We did it. But thank you for the feedback.
Yes, you did well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra, for that information. And I hope you guys are able to work something out after this. It'll be great for that. And thank you again, Karen, for your presentation and being here and helping us out at the last minute. So we thank you again. So this next part is our closing thoughts. And normally we would go right directly to our judges for that. But since we have a little extra time, if anybody that's in the room has any thoughts or questions that they would like to ask either one of our suppliers, feel free to unmute yourself and or just put something in the chat and we can ask the question as well. Any questions?
We have one that came in, Sean. Karen, will you, what's the best way to contact you? Will you just put in your information as well as yourself, Miko, just type in your information, let people know how they can contact you for your services?
I sure will.
Hey, I have a question for Karen.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering if the evaluation quiz, I guess you could call it, was available for everyone or if it was just for clients. This is coming from, we have an employee resource group with a very, very low budget, but I would love to see, just going through it, get some ideas on what we should be focusing on.
Sure. Good question, Taylor. The assessment that I showed you, all 171 questions are free. It's the same as, Zoom. You're going to get a free account because you need to get on the platform to be able to know what it is you're working with. And you get that first score. You get those two things for free because you just need to know where you are. Whether we win the pitch or not, we're in this space together because we have community and consensus around the fact that we need to be better. Well, you can't even know what is new out there, the ISO, unless we show you that, hey, it got released last year and we made a product. So we make that thing free. And then you reach out to us if you would like consulting on the side.
Thank you. And it looks like we have another question here. Have either presenting company ever partnered with other like entities, delivered something above and beyond their own unique offerings? How did it go and how would you sell the capability to the corporations?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. Matter of fact, one of the biggest examples I can give right now is what we just recently did with Peach Atlanta magazine. Let me see if I can grab these here. We just completed a 4-week, this is I think the second edition, but it's kind of like really the first one as well because we was able to give a full presentation. We just co-produced with them one of their first in history because Peach Atlanta magazine is a weekly magazine. And normally when they do tributes to Black history, they only do just one issue. But now, thanks to our partnership, we was able to do a 4-week issue collection. Well, I'm on the cover of the first week. We was able to do a 4-week series in tribute to Black History Month, focusing on LGBTQ people of color, both locally and nationally. And so we was very proud of that. Each tribute bio that we did was at least 2 pages full within the magazine and stuff like that. So we made history because Peach Atlanta has never done that. And so that's one of the things that, we're able as a company, we're able to present that to other potential customers and clients as it relates to not just what can happen when we are collaborating and stuff like that, because I don't believe in competition, I believe in collaboration. So yeah, hoping that answers your question to the person that asked that.
So in terms of who Inclusion Score has worked with, company is a year old. We formed it as we were launching this SaaS tool that we just released. But our client is Zurich, largest client is Zurich, North America. The last project-based thing that we did as a company was CyberFence. So we did the exact same thing, took the ISO for cybersecurity and platformized it. So companies can not just say, hey, I have a chief information officer, chief data officer, but I have a platform that helps me to really concretize and transform my IT services. And so we've done the same thing in a different space, but this time is a little more personal for all the folks that are on our home team.
Great. Thank you both for that. I always have to double check, am I muted or not, even after 3 years later. So thank you. And then you kind of actually went into the second question that's on there, is like, when a corporation comes to you, who should they, in their company, should they direct you to, or who would you think in their companies would be interested in your services?
Sure. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Karen.
I won't cut you off, darling. So, because we're looking at diversity from a systems perspective, change management for the company, and not just something that HR does. I'll talk to HR professionals. I'll talk to your supplier diversity lead. I'll talk to people, maybe not in C-suite, because they probably are not going to just talk to any random new vendor, but at least those two people, HR and supply. And then at some point, we need to talk to people who deal with product. Because if you're going to make a substantive change, then it has to happen all over the organization. And so for that reason, those three leads, I would be interested in talking to those folks.
Great. What about you, Miko?
The people that I'll probably be interested in talking to is anybody that is in charge of their marketing and advertising department, branding department, because I know, especially when it comes to companies that are interested in promoting a particular product or brand, and they may need a whole marketing advertising campaign to do so. They're going to need models, talent, to help push or promote that particular brand, especially if it's an ad and stuff like that. So anybody that's in charge of their marketing or advertising department would be great. Anybody that's in charge of special events would be great for us. And if they are a film company, of course, we can be their official casting company. So yeah. And we're proud to, I know for the past 6 years, we got our first government contract with the Georgia State Department of Public Health, their HIV prevention and outreach department. So yeah.
Great. Thank you both for that information. And I'm going to close out this particular program from our judges. So Sierra, why don't you start us off, and then Lance close us out, and we'll get ready for round 2.
Yeah, I think, this is the real meat of being engaged in a network like NGLCC, to get an opportunity to pitch our companies and to get this feedback. So this is invaluable, and I know that the businesses that are a part of this understand how invaluable this is. But some takeaways that I have, just that to round it all off, is really knowing what the problem is that you're solving. I think that resonated today. Starting with the problem, understanding what the solution is, understanding who that ideal client is, right? Because not all business is good business. We've heard that. So being very clear about who that ideal client is. And then with such a short segment of time, what's the most important things that I need to concentrate on? Because we're getting a little snippet of your business, right? And that time goes by really quickly. So, those 3 things I think are great takeaways as we walk away from this and figure out how do we, build relationships beyond this environment. I think those are 3 things to keep in mind as a wrap up.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Lance.
So I would say ditto and leave it at that, but I think I might not be invited back. So I'll add a little more content. I think the thing to remember here is that these 2 companies for sure and anyone that comes after on these sip and pitches, definitely the value is there. I think it's just us helping you fine tune, making that value very clear and identifiable to your audience. The value is off the charts for sure for both of these companies. Miko, you brought up a great point. You know, the film industry, I think, is reevaluating the way that we market movies. There are certain movies that have a broad appeal, is the term that I've heard used, where they don't necessarily need specialized marketing, but then those, as we start to tell the story of diverse people in film and art and music, how do we market those, not only to the audiences where those stories originate, but to other audiences, right, to other communities that might not feel a connection to those diverse stories. I think that's going to be a challenge that will really rely on diverse marketing and advertising companies to help us kind of bridge that gap, tell it in an authentic way that reaches into other communities so they don't feel disenfranchised from the stories. They want to celebrate them and support them like they do all content. And so I am eager to have subsequent conversation with you on that topic.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I got so many examples to give you on that just alone. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you for both of our suppliers today. We appreciate you taking your time out to let us know a little bit more about your businesses and what you do and what you offer. Of course, we wish you both well and just continue to do the things you're doing. It sounds like you're being very successful. Thank you again to our judges, to Sierra and Lance. Appreciate you as well. Thank you for taking your time out today to help us as well. And so we're going to go ahead and just take a little break. So we got a little bit of time, about a little over 15 minutes. And so you can stay on or you can drop off and come back, but we'll be here at 4 o'clock to do round 2 of Sip and Pitch Friday. So thank you.
Thank you. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you.
Well, great. And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to this special edition of our Sip and Pitch presented by the Communities of Color Initiative for Black History Month. So we are really excited about round 2 and what we have in store for you. My name is Alicia Green, pronoun she, hers, and I am the Director of Supplier Diversity at NGLCC. And I would like to just welcome you all. We have a treat for you today. We had a treat earlier for round 1, but I'm excited to bring on our next presenters. So first, I would like to introduce our judges. We have Terrence, pronouns he, him, Director of Global Supplier Diversity at BMS, Bristol Myers Squibb. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it, but we are still announcing him as he wanted to be here, but due to technical circumstances, he was unable to make it. Next, we have Sierra Lilly, pronoun she, hers, Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion at Diversified Maintenance. Last but not least is Lance Dorsey, pronouns he, him, Director of Supplier Diversity at Sony Pictures Entertainment. So let's just give them a round of applause. Thank you all for joining us today. And next, I would like to just go over a couple of rules and guidelines for you all that are participating, as well as that are attending this. So first, we would like to, each company is going to have 5 minutes to pitch, and only one presenter from each participating company. Judges have 10 minutes for feedback and Q&A. No presentation, no problem. This program is designed to be informal, to provide real-time feedback for your company's pitch. And if you are not speaking, please mute your microphone so that we can respect our judges and our presenters. Team NGLCC will provide a warning at 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining. I would like to thank my colleague, Maxine.
Hi, everyone.
Yes, so she will just let you know whenever you have 1 minute left and then 30 seconds remaining. Again, y'all, this is a judgment-free zone designed to help you enhance your pitch and grow your company. All feedback that is shared is in the spirit of collaboration. And of course, last but not least, let's just have a great time. A special thing that we will be doing after each pitch, how we have our closing thoughts from our judges, we will open it up to our audience. So please just be sure that whenever you're listening to these companies give their pitch, jot down some questions that you might have for them. There will be time for you to ask your questions at the end. So now let's get started. And I'm ready to introduce our first pitch for the second round by Ellis Hudson with Career Magazine. So Ellis, please take it away.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I actually have a presentation. Can I share my screen? Okay, I'm gonna do that. Okay, cool. All right. 1 second. All right, I'm gonna do it like this. Can you see my screen, everyone? All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ellis Hudson, and I am the editor-in-chief and founder of Queer Magazine. I want to dedicate Queer Magazine to the kid in me who often felt like, a little lost and unseen and just, lost basically just because I didn't know anybody who was like me, queer and Black and effeminate and whatnot. So I dedicated to that kid. Queer Magazine is the multimedia publication dedicated to all things queer, Black, and brown. And while we're here, we want to tackle chronic underrepresentation, and I'll even throw in misrepresentation. I think it's no secret that queer, Black, and brown people have often been like, secondhand characters in media, and not portrayed correctly, or not all facets portrayed correctly or even in the best light. So we want to tackle that and go against it to dismantle stereotypes. Queer Magazine, we're rebels at heart, and we just constantly want to go against the status quo and disrupt just like mainstream media's thoughts and whatnot. So that, and also to create safe space, community is such a huge part of Queer Magazine. And we just, are always finding ways to highlight others and just bring them into our fold. Queer Magazine is not exclusatory at all, except to like hate and other just, stupid ideas like queer phobia and fat phobia and whatnot. We just pro-love. 1 second. All right, and the ways that we do all these things is through creative freedom. A big part of Queer Magazine is the community's contribution. My favorite way that this has been just is through content. We're constantly looking for ways to photograph and spotlight queer, Black, and brown people in the community. For our first issue, Outlandish, we wanted to just invite people in the community to come and show themselves as, colorful and beautiful as they are. These are some of the models that came out and who are truly a part of Queer Magazine. We got some awesome shots, and just all the people that we employ, like whether that's like photographers or models, are queer, Black, and brown. So it's really just an amazing ecosystem. And like, these are some of the some of the content that we got within our first issue. So these are people who are, dedicated to supporting Queer Magazine and wanted to show their supports. Transparency, writing, and just content is a big part of Queer Magazine, and we wanted to tackle topics that were really important to us. So we, interview cool people like the local Brooklyn-based Dragon Sisters, or a hip hop duo, the new and popular web series For the Boys, the directors of the show, and also the writers, and the advocate and model and actress, trans woman, queer, Gia Love. She's just amazing. And we were able to do a expose, interview with her as well. So we constantly want to just like be real. I feel like the tone of voice of Queer Magazine is just being real, and we constantly look for ways to do that. Here's just some more photos from that photo shoot and that interview. And another important part, again, the way that we're promoting Queer Magazine is through community. For our first issue, we were actually able to do an in-person event and invited, not only the models who were part of it, but just the rest of the community out to come and celebrate. And, as you can see, these are just beautiful, amazing, colorful, artistic people. And I think creating a safe space, or a space where people get to come and be their full selves, is just really important. So Queer Magazine goes beyond like a physical magazine or our Instagram or our Facebook, but we're actually an in-person, we're a physical entity. That is really the coolest part to me. Here are just some other amazing photos. And yeah, those are the great things that we're doing. I want to end off by just saying, or not end off, but highlighting our needs. An advisory board of members. Queer Magazine is totally in need. I recognize that there's so much about this world and perspectives that I don't have. And like, I'm just always inviting people to come on and just help elevate Queer Magazine to the next step. Content, as you can see, people in their work and their talents and their beliefs and their stories are really important to Queer Magazine. So we're always looking for ways to like incorporate that and to spotlight it. Financial opportunities. Queer Magazine has a very robust like social media presence, and we're constantly looking for ways to expand and like, you know, need more opportunities to do so. And sponsors, we are a magazine, so always looking for ways to promote other businesses, you know, which will benefit us in our community as well. A company roadmap, we're really trying to be a little bit more multimedia and get in the video and audio space by launching our YouTube series, That's Queer AF. It's going to be a really amazing, you know, kind of a video and audio version of the magazine of just highlighting amazing people and getting to know their stories. Our second issue will be released in June of 2022. And, you know, that is just going to be an amazing topic. And we hope to grow our team in readership. So thank you. Again, my name is Ellis Hudson. Please feel free to follow Queer Magazine on Instagram at QueerX Magazine, Facebook, and visit our website. And if you're interested in seeing our first issue, please let me know. I appreciate it.
Wonderful, Ellis. Oh my gosh, I love it. You know, it's all about the community, the transparency, and just bringing awareness to Black and Brown individuals in the LGBTQ community. So, wow, that's amazing. So first, let's give it over to, let's do Lance. Come on, Lance.
As I'm jotting down these notes, sir, first and foremost, commend you. This is incredible because it's so important. Not only to advocate, but to advocate for yourself within the community, but then to also put this forward where we are the lead in our own stories. We're not a byline. We're not, you know, a side character that's brought in. So this is really great. I did have a couple of follow-up questions for you, and I will definitely be following you on Instagram. Is this a digital magazine or is this digital and print?
Digital and print. Currently, right now, we only are selling in digital, but working with a printing company near and local to get that made. So soon to be print, but as of now, digital. Okay.
And in terms of publications, is this like a quarterly magazine, or is it something that you'll look at changing the frequency of the publications, or is it just going to be like a quarterly magazine?
We hope, I hope to increase the frequency of it. Hopefully quarterly at some point, but as of now, our first issue was 2021 and the next one will be this summer. So, as of now, I guess annually, but definitely are hoping to increase that once we are able to like grow. Okay, awesome. My final thought here was on the financial opportunities and sponsorships. I know for corporations, it's always nice to have like a package or a la carte in terms of pricing for support. So it kind of takes the guesswork out of it, and it helps us when we go before, making the business case for, supporting this publication, having that structure and that pricing already together makes it a little easier, as opposed to going them and saying, just give me some money, right? Well, what am I giving you money for, right? It's good to have that information, but commend you. Please continue doing what you're doing. It's so important. Representation matters, and I think this is beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That was like amazing advice. I will do that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lance. All right, Sierra.
Yeah, so I have taken so many notes, but one of the things that you said that really resonated for me is that this is for the child in me, right? And I think that was so powerful. I connected with it personally because we do need to control the narrative, and we do need safe spaces, and we need places to be our authentic selves. And so I love what you're doing through this platform. I think it's so important right? And as I was jotting down my notes, one thing that I saw Miko post and say, talk about a potential partnership. And so one of the things that I want you to consider is when we look at the NGLCC network, a lot of times we focus on the large corporations, right? There's so much opportunity there. They have the large budgets. We make that assumption, but I don't want us to ever forget the power of partnership and joint ventures that's within other LGBT businesses, right? There's a tremendous opportunity to partner with some other LGBT businesses in this network.
Yeah.
There's also a tremendous opportunity to partner with regional NGLCC chambers, right? To help, and I think that's really important to leverage those resources to get the word out about what you're doing, right? So if that is through, looking at how some of these chambers or some of the business owners could serve on the board, because I thought it was really impactful to specify what your needs are. Maybe you can find those advisors, within this network. If it's financial, contributions, maybe it's within the network. So oftentimes when we have these environments, we're excited about the corporations, and certainly that's a key element. But there is extreme power, and especially for what you're doing, to leverage the entire network, to include the chambers as well as some of the other businesses. So for those that were in the chat saying, let's connect, certainly be sure to do that, right? And I'll echo what Lance said, because I wrote that down. When it does come to how corporations can support you, having that level of transparency around what that would look like, right? Because we're all operating from budgets, and we need to know, what would it look like if we were to support you? So giving some examples or some scenarios to say, here's some ways that you can support us with the dollar figures there, right? As well as clarity around, in exchange for this investment, you're going to get this, right? So that we have what we need to go, within our organizations and advocate for you to support the important work that you're doing. So those are my thoughts, but absolutely, I too am going to follow. I'm going to, make sure that within the organizations, the local chambers that I'm involved in within NGLCC, that we support as well. But let's have another conversation around how we can just come up with some type of strategic direction so that we can get this out across the network, because I think we all within NGLCC, and I will take it broader than that, all of us that are in this work doing diversity need to support the courageous work that you're doing. So hold us accountable, but equip us with what we need to help you be successful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was all wonderful. And Sierra, everybody's just, the power of partnership between other LGBTQ businesses, it really is power there. So, and if they're not certified, get them certified. So no, we are excited about that. Thank you both, Sierra and Lance, for your wonderful feedback.
Yes.
And again, everyone that's on here, you're going to have your chance to ask your questions, or if you want to connect, put it in the chat. Put your information in. This is the great, time to do it. This is what this is for. So now I would like to introduce, last but not least, and he has presented before, but I'm really excited to introduce Marcus Williams with Mw Consulting Llc. Marcus, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me back to pitch and give feedback. I am Marcus Ed Williams. I'm the principal consultant and owner of Mw Consulting. The firm was established in 2016 in your nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Through time and material contracts and fixed price contracts, we create cohesive strategies to connect clients with their stakeholders through captivating campaigns, visuals, and engaging narratives. We work with clients who are seeking to enhance their brand recognition and awareness. Many of them struggle with knowing where to start, either due to lack of expert human capital or other resources. And the solution is us. Our collaborative, participatory, and hands-on approach to project management ensures that clients are educated on the process and fully engaged and supported throughout the contract execution. Here at MW Consulting, we work with passion, purpose, and principle to achieve a set goal or mission. We have integrity on every project that we support to build trust with our clients, and we nurture relationships to ensure client satisfaction and retention. In short, we win. We have had a host of successes over the last almost 6 years in business. We have 8 certifications. We have seen a 315% increase in gross revenue. We have executed 37 contracts that has resulted in 90 executed projects. We have access to 26 independent contractors. And the milestone that I am most proud of is we survived 2020. Our financial goals, the global spend on public relations firm is around 47 billion. In the United States, they spend 15.6 billion. That's 33% of the global spend. Our target gross revenue for 2022 is 1 million, and that is 0.07% of the US spend and a 15% increase over our 2021 gross revenue. Our grow and market strategy is to incorporate new offerings that align with the current climate. So that includes things such as cultural competency training and workshops for internal communication practices, consultation packages on how to change in-person engagements to virtual or hybrid engagements in the post-COVID landscape, and providing business and brand development packages tailored to CBD and cannabis-based businesses. We are looking to connect or get contract leads or client leads with businesses who are looking to enhance their brand recognition and awareness, either for the overall company or organization or a specific project with a regional or national scope. And we're also looking to partner with other firms that have gaps that we can fill, vice versa, or create some type of referral partnership. Again, I'm Marcus A. Williams, and I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Marcus, for that. I'll start off with Sierra.
Right. Thank you, Marcus. And that was really good. I appreciate, and I know with the time crunch, we're trying to fit everything in. And so I appreciate you sharing. And there were a lot of things that I wrote down. One thing I'll commend you for is the growth of your organization. You know, I think you said 350%. That's impressive. So just some questions, and I might have missed this. How long have you been in business?
Since 2016.
2016. Okay. And so from what I gathered, the focus is on PR. Is that correct? PR services?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there core, because as you were going through, I made some notes, and I know you mentioned helping companies with brand recognition, awareness, and then you shared, that you're pivoting and adding some services to assist with where we are around the pandemic and whatnot. But can you speak to what are the, when you're working with a customer, what's the core services that you're offering? And then the second question to that 1B would be, who's that ideal client for you? Because I want to make sure as we're having this conversation that we're clear on who is the ideal client and what are the core services that you want to lead in, because what that'll help us determine is where you fit in within our organization. So if you can just give me a little bit of clarity around those two things, that would be great.
Yes. So we work with clients to come up with strategic plans around how to build out campaigns, including their visuals and narratives. So whether it be rolling out an initiative, launching the business, doing an annual report on heavily technical issues, like one of our clients is the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner here in DC, and they struggle with such a heavy topic, being able to communicate that out to stakeholders in an engaging way. So we work with them to develop that narrative, develop that content, the visual, as well as the rollout plan for that, to connect with their key stakeholders. So it would be businesses who are looking, they either lack human capital, expert human capital or other resources, or they just don't know where to start with communications. So where they're facing a struggle with telling their story or engaging their stakeholders, either through events or their visuals or their messaging, and they want to be able to, engage and connect more with their stakeholders. Over the last 6 years, and do I have host privileges?
Yes.
So over the last 6 years, we've supported various industries. The industry that we have supported the most is the medical science, public health, and wellness space, with clients such as the DC Department of Forensic Science, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, Child Fatality Review Committee, and we just signed a contract yesterday with Children's National Hospital. And all of these clients, it has been to build a campaign to help with their messaging, their branding, their imagery. With Children's National specifically, we're rolling out a campaign for their community needs assessment and what the findings are and things of that, because it's a heavy topic. So they're trying to figure out some way, and it's very technical and analytics and all of the heavy stuff. So they're trying to figure out a way to truncate it down into an executive summary, if you will, and get that out in an engaging way. So whether that's going to be through the narrative, the graphic design of that, but also figuring out how it's going to be released to partners, what the social media component graphics will look like. So being able to amplify their brand and align with the national brand as well. And then some of these, so I spoke to this earlier. So this is an example of one of the clients that we had. So the DC Promise Neighborhood Initiative. Originally, they wanted us to engage to just hit their numbers for their annual gala, to get people butts and seats, tickets sold, right? So when we came in and we were looking at it, we always go in and we say, okay, this is the overall goal, so we'll keep that in mind. But how can we think of this strategically and comprehensively? So we looked at their audiences, their website, their collateral material, even the executive director speaking engagements, and the talking points for how it was going to be promoted. And we came up with more of a strategy on this is how we need to retool the website to align with your overall messaging and your targets, so that when you are asking for money from donors, that it's clear on what it's going to be used for, and a bevy of other different things. So that resulted in our monthly contract being extended to the end of the year, and us reporting to the executive director. They saw a 35% increase within 2 months to their website. They exceeded their ticket sales by 125 tickets, and the media coverage on the organization and what they do in their jurisdiction went more neutral than negative. So that's an example of that. And then I talked about the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner and how we handled that.
Yeah. And so I think this is the meat and potatoes here, right? So, some feedback is, leverage these success stories and share them. And it's good to have a visual aid, right? Because then we can kind of look and skim what, this case study and get a better understanding without you having to read through it for, to respect time. But I think this is, and I noticed when you first started, there may have been some nervousness there when you got here and you were talking about this is what we do. There's a level of confidence that you had that resonated to say, like, this is what we're doing. You have value, you're communicating that value. And now I have a better understanding of, how that value could impact our organization. So these case studies, these success stories are gold. And oftentimes I think a lot of us focus on here's what we do, and we give the generic pitch. This is the stuff that people will remember, right? The percentages, the data, this is, the ROI for others. And so don't be afraid to bring these out, spend less time on, the formalities, spend less time on that. Let's hit it really quickly and let's get into like, here's what I'm doing to create value for clients that are in like industries or like size or, like focuses as yours. And so great job overall. But I certainly see value in this piece, and it would encourage you to bring it out and celebrate what you're doing, the great work that you're doing. So that's my feedback for you. I'll pass it on to Lance.
Thank you.
All very solid feedback. I was crossing a lot of things off my list, Sierra, as you were speaking, because you were touching on them beautifully. Marcus, one thing that I would say is I think we need to do a 23andMe because we might be related in terms of the speed at which you speak. I'm known to do that when I'm very passionate and excited or nervous. I tend to go really fast. And in the beginning, I missed.
I actually thought I
Right,
was
okay,
speaking
that
too
was-
slow. I was like, am I
yeah,
going to
that
run out of time?
was-
I can talk
And
much
so
faster.
looking at the clock, I mean, you had the time and you were done like very early. You gave us the elevator pitch and we were in the boardroom waiting to see the visual of the deck, right? So I feel like it's great that you have that in your arsenal, just kind of fit your pitch to what the circumstances would allow, right? Sometimes you can't break out slides when you're in an elevator, right? So you have that piece down. I think this is more of that. To Sierra's point, having the visuals. The numbers were very impressive, 8 certifications, your revenue growth, the number of contracts that you've been able to partner on. But providing those numbers without the visual is like describing a day at the beach to someone who's never been there, right? I'm so busy trying to picture these numbers and picture these facts that I'm missing out on the key points that you're saying. Just having those up on the screen, to Sierra's point, like this information here, the flow, I can follow along with what you're saying. And I'm not trying to connect the dots in my head, if that makes sense. But definitely see the value in what you're doing here. I was thinking from a brand perspective, corporation like Sony Pictures that is so keyed on brand, and we have our own brand department where there might be these carve out opportunities. It's something that I'm going to have to go back to the team and really think about and consider. So you've given me something to consider in that respect.
Thank you so much. And let me be honest, I have to update this a little bit, which is why I didn't show it.
Okay.
So it's some of the numbers, so it's big, like this is for 2020. So I just have to go through and update this, and I didn't have time to, which is why I didn't show it. But I had it queued up for things that I knew you were going to ask, like the industries and the case studies and all the things. But I 1000% agree with you, and I thank you for that feedback. I 1000% agree. I have to update it.
Well, great.
Thank you.
Yes, no, so thank you again, Marcus, for this wonderful presentation. And now we are going to our final thoughts for the second round presenters with MW Consulting as well as with Queer Magazine. So does anyone from the audience have any questions or any comments? I do see that Xavier posted to, post your contact information. So networking in the chat room, that's what we're talking about. Are there any questions from anyone in the audience? You can raise your hands by the reactions, or you could just type it in the chat box. Okay, I guess you two presented so well that, it didn't leave any questions. Y'all answered everything that everybody wanted. So great job. So I'm going to turn it over to Sierra for your closing thoughts for these two.
I think, again, this is such a great opportunity that NGLCC is affording the LGBT businesses. I think this is, it goes by quickly, but this really counts. And I think one thing that I wrote down is, as we're going through our prep, if we have an understanding of who's going to be a part of this engagement, so if we know what companies are going to be participating as judges, then we have an opportunity to maybe do some research to understand our audience and determine what's going to be the most relevant or most applicable set of services or products that I should hone in on during this pitch, right? I am big on doing the research just to get a basic understanding, because oftentimes you can pull case studies that may be more relevant. You can share some clients that you're supporting that are in our industries that can help make sure that this time we have together is as impactful as possible. So, research. research. We all have websites. We all have LinkedIn's. We all have, so things that we can do to make this pitch a little bit more customized to the audience that we're going to be presenting to, I think would be helpful. I also want to just take time to congratulate everyone that participated, because this is intense and it can be intimidating, and it goes by really quickly. Typically in our matchmaking, you get, 15 minutes or so. So for 5 minutes, I commend everyone that has participated today. And the last thing I will say is hold us accountable. Hold us accountable. And I know a lot of people are like, what does that mean? What that means is, follow up. Let's not have this conversation and not talk again, right? Because what's the purpose of it if we don't maximize the opportunity? So follow up with us. If you don't have our contact information, I'll speak for myself. I am open to sharing it. I'll put it in the chat, but hold us accountable to helping you and your businesses and connecting you to resources. If maybe there's not opportunities within my organization, how can you maximize the relationship with me to find other opportunities with folks in my network? So, take accountability, hold us accountable, right? And make sure that you follow up so that you can get the best ROI for your time today. So that's my piece, and I'll put my information in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you all.
All right, Lance. Any
Yes.
closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I've been very impressed all day today with the caliber of the individuals you put before us, these business owners, but also commend you for the work that you're doing to kind of break down those barriers and recognize the intersectionality within the LGBTQIA community, right? So often when people talk about LGBTQ issues, they don't think about the Black and brown people within the community. We're not prominent in marketing in June for most corporations. So I commend you for taking the time to really recognize this intersectionality within our community, which I think is so important. And I hope that corporations who are on the call, who may be invited to participate in marketing conversations in May as you gear up for June, are thinking about these intersectionalities and are making the Black and brown voices within our community equally prominent to those other voices who have been prominent for a number of years. As Sierra said, please connect. I love that when our bios first flash, my phone started going off and I look down and I see all these LinkedIn requests. Maximize the opportunity, right? When you see new faces and new advocates before you, that you take the opportunity to connect with them and see how we can support each other through this. I think that's so important. And finally, just continue to shine. You break down barriers by existing and doing what you do with excellence. So never lose the fact that in and of itself is exceptional. And I sincerely appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. I want to thank everyone, all of our presenters, Miko Evans with Meek Productions, Karen Prater Jasmine with Inclusion Score, Ellis Hudson with Queer Magazine, and Marcus Williams with Mw Consulting Llc. Thank you all for showcasing your businesses and showing us the greatness and the greatness that we have as certified Black LGBTQ businesses. So thank you so much for that. And of course, Sierra Lily and Lance, thank you so much for taking time for your feedback and your great advice for these wonderful companies. So we just want to thank you for that. And all of our attendees, thank you for participating and for chiming in and putting in your information for everyone in network. So now we have a treat coming for you, for our communities and conversations. So we're going to give you, we're going to come back at 4:45 where we're going to have communities and conversations. Sean is going to speak with someone he will introduce, and it's going to be a treat. So get you a drink. This is the time to sip. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Get you a sip and please come back in about 10 minutes. and we're going to let you all go early. So come back and be ready for a great special treat.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the third hour of our Sip and Pitch Friday. This is our community and conversation. Hope everybody had opportunity to get them a little something to sip for the Sip and Pitch portion of this program. And we're going to have a great conversation with someone who I just met a couple of weeks ago, and I just think is a very outstanding person. And her name is Marla Lusant, or better known as Marla Lou. She uses the pronouns she, her. And just a little bit about Marla. She was born in Haiti and raised in Washington Heights, New York. She is the first generation computer science graduate from Fordham University, internationally published model. She has been in Vogue Italia, also in the Oprah magazine, award-winning theater performer, TV and film actor. She was on Netflix's 7 Seconds and Showtime's Flatbush Misdemeanors. And she's the founder and CEO of the abolitionist nonprofit Claim Our Space Now. So I'd like to bring on Miss Marla Lou. How are you?
I am well. It is sunny here in NYC. The sun is coming down because sunset, that makes sense, but definitely much warmer than it has been the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so
great. I'm in LA, and
that must be nice.
I know it's been, but for the last few days, you know, for LA, it's been like 40s and upper 30s. That's cold for us. So it's like a new, like, what's going on here? So for you guys that's on the East Coast, I really feel sorry for you, because I used to be on the East Coast, but since I've been on the West Coast, my blood has gotten thinner, so I get cold a lot faster.
And thank you very much for that lovely introduction too. I was like, did all that? Okay, heard, yep.
Exactly. So first of all, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you taking your time out to spend with our suppliers and with our corporate partners here. So why don't you introduce yourself to those who may not know who you are, and tell us a little bit about your organization.
Sure. So the things that weren't touched on there in that lengthy intro, for one, I'm a professional good troublemaker. I take after my ancestors from Haiti, especially in being able to dive further into their legacy, our legacy. I claim it too, just like I claim my space, claim my truth. The epiphany that really came to me in 2020, which led to founding the organization, was truly stemmed from years and years, especially coming up as a Black youth in NYC, which is one of the most segregated spaces educationally here in the States, between the Gifted and Talented program. If you guys have ever watched Abbott Elementary, definitely recommend it if you haven't. But touching upon how truly there's no one way to educate our youth, and being able to separate from those that are gifted, in quotes, what does gifted really mean? And so that experience definitely had me in more white spaces. And that was an opportunity, in quotes again, that my mom had to fight for, because in Washington Heights, we were relegated to just that prison to school to prison pipeline in the Heights. So that fighter spirit that I get, and that probably activated in 2020, like I was mentioning, truly stems from my family's desire and knowing that they have to stand in their rights to get the basic rights that everybody's entitled to. So that also is part of my, very much a part of my origin story into finding my way into the movement. So is my spirituality in coming out from being raised as a Jehovah's Witness my whole life. And my artistic sensibilities, my, you name it, my showing my shoulders today, that would never happen if I was a witness. So, you know, that there has been a spiritual journey in finding my own truth outside of my family's faith. And that happened 3 years ago in 4 years, 2018 was when that happened. And in the seclusion from family and trying to find community and finding love the same way that I did coming up in the faith and raised around a lot of folks. That is where my sensitivity and my sensibility to continue to create communities, because I know exactly what it feels like to not have any. And it was a community of chosen family that all from my theater experience, TV spaces, and artists who knew and could empathize with what I was going through. And that's precisely why I continue to do the same. And probably one of the several reasons that I continue to fight for all Black lives, because I know what it feels like to be beat and battered across all my different intersections as a queer immigrant artist, trying to make a difference every day and holding to my integrity. So just a bit of filling in the blanks in between all the lovely things that happened, of course, but it wasn't without the struggles and the challenges to get to that point and making my own truth.
That is awesome. And yeah, I think it's our upbringing and what we've experienced and what has we experienced in the last few years. It's just kind of like something has got to change. We got to do something, and you know, we're working on it. And I'll digress. Abbott Elementary, if you're not watching it, it's so funny and so good. It's really, really good. So, so going into that, so why, I mean, I think I already know this, but why was it important to you to start an organization such as Claim Our Space Now?
Sure, and I realize I didn't connect it to the founding, but this is the perfect time to introduce that. So in 2020, as everybody knows, there was the pandemic, racial injustice, really flaming, especially since everyone was at home and were twiddling their thumbs, of course. But I realized that even before George Floyd's lynching was made public, we go back to Ahmaud, Breonna, there were several different Black royals that were killed by police. But I also knew with my education at Fordham that white supremacy is not only relegated to police brutality. There's maternal, Black maternal health care that is unequal. You have education, real estate, just housing, you know? And I thought that the American media machine does a really good job of only making us important when our grieving is very visible and very grisly at that. And I grew tired of seeing everybody only mobilizing for Black lives when we were shrunken into 140 characters or less. And I knew that there had to be a different way to mobilize around Black lives, because I had seen hashtags since Trayvon Martin, and I was in middle school at that point. So I knew, again, I was finding through like my trauma through 2020 as well, trying to find ways that as an artist, which is what I identified mostly with as my identity, and a queer artist at that, what would my voice lend to beyond just like shouting into the void of social media? And so when I got tired of seeing my friends go, oh, I wish we could do something about it, I was like, we can, if we were to mobilize across our different intersections in an organized fashion. And this is where my STEM fem brain comes in. As a computer science major, like my understanding of systems very much applies to how systems are built and white supremacy is built in society. So if one thing is off, it's not designed or is not working as it was intended to. So imagine if all of us across our different skills, our identities, our unique talents were to come together to chip at this system that we call white supremacy, capitalism, that are all, you know, all the different SEs, isms, all of them are connected to one another. And so if we were to be organized in that fashion, how do we go ahead and solve these problems together? And then Claim Our Space Now was born. I was like, you're on my Instagram, asked around, and all my friends pulled in and were like, hey, I love this idea. How can I help? And of course, as time went on, less and less people were more motivated to continue on in this fight because burnout is a thing. People were going go, 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 and didn't take any rests. So that's where our Inspire tenet, we really believe in the fact that this work is lifelong, and we don't have to be in a life or death crisis mode. Like, yes, we know that these systems are propagating all kinds of things that can very much dampen the spirit, but we look to each other for inspiration, and we claim space together, both in our community activations and ritualized community action together. And that's really what our whole mission is about, to make sure that activism is accessible, that we're doing it consistently, because it's not a one-off thing. It's not a, hey, I'm going to care for today only. We're actually organizing and committing to starting here in New York and then expanding beyond within our work, so that we can be claiming space together and continually for Black lives, and all Black lives, not just Black men, not just Black women, Black queer folks. We're intersectional inherently, so it makes sense to fight for us in all of those different ways.
Great. That's so amazing. And you're so right. Like, it seemed like when everything happened in 2020 that everybody was on the, we got to do something and do something and do something. And now you barely hear anything about it. So my hat's off to you to continue to fight the fight, and with your organization, and to bring a presence of what, you know, our people go through and what we need and where we need the help. So thank you for that. So with that, so how do you see Claim Your Space now being important for people of color?
Important in the terms of visibility.
Yes.
I think it was, somebody was just saying when I jumped on, that we have to shine outright, be unapologetic in our Blackness, our queerness, all those different things that have been, yes, thank you, Ellis, I remember. So Ellis saying that we have to stand in our full brilliance, and that certainly is part of our values, both internally and externally, for Claim Our Space Now. Because without it, and also with transparency, because how can we know how to help one another if we're not clear about what we need? So we approach every bit of our work that way. We have food justice initiative that we're working on to launch here in New York, specifically for Caribbean immigrants, because one, Haitian, and two, we are Black immigrants are the most deported from the United States back to the Caribbean. So we've decided to carry on with that work. And one thing that Haitians gonna do is claim space and make it loud and proud. So I always lean on my my ancestors' legacy for that. And that's precisely the message that we want to continue sharing within every single one of our initiatives. Important, so.
Awesome. That's awesome. And I did know, on, you know, just looking at your website, you have a program. It's called Claim the Vote program. So we got a lot of elections coming up. So how important do you think the program is in the upcoming elections, including the 2024 presidential elections? And what do you have to say to those who, for whatever reasons, just don't register to vote?
Sure. So I can speak from the heart about the experience when we started the program in 2020 and continued it through 2021. We are truly mobilizing our communities and educating our communities specifically and across the different languages that we all speak in the Black diaspora. So it was really important to make all of this accessible, because if we don't elect for ourselves, we have to elect our own power to even mobilize to go to the polls, right? And it was very important for us to explicate and make clear that it's not only for the national or for presidential elections or just the major roles that we hear about in the news cycles and such. It's really important for us to know who's running locally at the state level, at the what we think is minute and are actually major, because they are the ones that dictate. I'm gonna put my laptop on Do Not Disturb because my email and yes, honey, the different disciplines, whether it's the STEM part, the co-space, the art, we're getting auditions, all that fun stuff. So there are the dings going on. With Claim the Vote, it was really important for us to be out where our people are. So we did some research. We were deciding where were the least folks that were registered, and it was a census year in 2020. So we also mobilized for people to sign up for the census, and we're able to reallocate $100,000 in federal funding just by being there and having translators be able to speak to our Spanish speakers, to be able to speak to our Haitian immigrants that were alongside, that you don't have to be afraid to sign up for the census, you know, like things that you would think are common knowledge, but actually people haven't been reaching where our communities are supposed to be, right? Or where our communities are. So it was really important for us to stand in our power and make that impact in the day-to-day conversations. And this is where my Jehovah's Witness experience comes in handy. Okay. I'm not afraid to talk to people because I was preaching all the time. So, you know, very similar, like the things that I would think are traumatic, like thinking back to that preaching experience, were things that were actually actionable, like just trying to make a distinction. It's hilarious, truly. With Jehovah's Witnesses, all we had were like pamphlets saying like the Bible text, but with Claim Our Space Now and with the work that we want to continue doing, we're handing out resources that are actually saving Black lives, that are saving lives within the community. And it makes me think of just our recent event. We do that consistently, Marsha's Closet, named after Marsha P. Johnson, who, we need to tell y'all who Marsha P. Johnson is. I love it. And her legacy in showing up for all queer lives in NYC. And of course, her legacy expands beyond that. But we provide free coats for our unhoused siblings here in New York City. And we're able to provide those resources both on paper and on our website, our National Resource Directory. So all of those same like passion or action-driven work that actually brings results in the community, that's what we continue to do. And Claim the Vote is definitely major in that. In terms of speaking to folks that are not registered, you know, we're nonpartisan as a nonprofit, and for good reason, because I've had my fair share of that experience with the electoral process. I wasn't allowed to vote as a witness coming up, so that was, you know, quite an adjustment. But I also worked in the electoral space, and it is definitely a predatory space, both for folks that are working and for people that are looking for votes to continue on with their work. There are a lot of New York noises here. I apologize as well.
That's okay.
And so, you know, I never, if anybody were to be like, no, I'm not registering, I fully understand, because the system has continuously harmed our communities very, very much. And of course, it's everybody's individual decision. What we will do is continue to educate and reach across those boundaries that haven't been reached before, to hope that, of course, one day they would feel comfortable to register, to activate their vote. As long as somebody would ask me that question, it's like, why do I have to register? Mm-hmm. And it's to give you the chance to use your power, both with your voice, and also know that you can continue to show up for that candidate too. So how are you pulling up to support that candidate to bring the change that you need in your community? Like, it doesn't end at the polls. So it's very important for us to continue that work. And we're going to do exactly that at the Brooklyn Public Library starting in the spring. So I'm definitely very excited about that.
That's great. That's, you know, and I'm like you, understand when people don't think they have a voice, but you really, really do when you vote. And no candidate is going to be perfect, but you got to, you know, look into and see who's going to help all communities and who's going to do it the right way and not just be in it for themselves. So I always, I just tell people, just vote, go vote. You know, it does make a difference. And speaking of, I know you said earlier that right now you're more in New York. If somebody wanted to just start helping now, who's not in the city or the state of New York, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, sure. We have plenty of digital activations. We're actually across 4 different time zones. We have a volunteer that's currently in South Korea right now for a show, LA and Chicago, including folks are on the Eastern Standard Time. So in regards to activating with us, we have definitely a need for our National Resource Directory. So if you know, or if you're living in a space that either may have a plethora of Black life-saving resources across, just off the top of my head, we have 17, so I'm not gonna list them all out, but immigrant services, maternal health care, doulas, immigrant rights, you name it. We're definitely looking for some folks that can help us with that research. So I can drop my email here to connect further, of course. And then other ways in which, I hope that's spelled correctly, yes, I'd be typing real quick. So other ways that we're looking for some support as well, and it's not only relegated to New York. Currently doing board interviews for folks, and we're definitely interested in having representation on the board of directors that are from different intersections, both in disability, deaf ASL. We really want to have as many intersections of folks represented on the board, and across different skill sets too. So if you're interested and passionate about Black lives and being intentional about the work in our programs, definitely would love to hear from you. And that's the email that you can reach out to, and continue leading together, because nothing can be done without community. So that's precisely it.
Thank you so much. And I only have a few more questions that I have. So I'm going to open it up to those who are in the room. If you have questions, get ready. You can put them in the chat, and we can definitely, speak. We still have a little bit more time here. So I'm just going to ask you, you have a computer background, ended up in theater. How did you end up in the role that you play now?
Life. So the reason I had gone in for computer science instead of like the arts, for instance, I grew up, my family was always very passionate about making sure that we had seen the music scene. I never really practiced when I got home. So they're like, you're not an instrumentalist, but you're good at it. Let's try theater. Let's try this, try that. And so theater stuck for me. And that was where that opened the door in high school. I won the Jimmy Award, which is basically the Tonys for high schoolers. And that opened the door for me to audition and do all kinds of things. But when I won, I had already been committed to Fordham for engineering physics. And so my family was like, we know that you love theater, but remember why we came to the States. We know you're good. You've clearly been recognized for it, but this industry is so finicky. We don't ever want you to be in a space where you don't have the heart, or not the heart, the education that society deems worthy for you to work.
To fall back on.
Correct. And I'm using very choice words here.
I know.
Because artists are really the ones that lead the way, if we're being real. So, when it comes to professionalism and arming ourselves with success with the immigrant, sight line, I decided that I would go ahead and take on that responsibility as a first generation student here. I came undocumented to the States even. And so I was like, all right, engineering physics didn't stick because physics beat my ass. I had never taken it before college. So it was just like all brand new information. And thankfully, computer science was a requisite for it. So I decided to stick with computer science. All the while, I was still auditioning, so I commuted, and I was never really on campus. So if you ever ask me about my campus experience, I will say I was running to the D train to go downtown, come back to class. Like, it was truly such a grand old time balancing all those things. And it definitely trained me for what was to come, leading an organization like this across those different disciplines. Like, yes, I might not know all there is to know about food justice, but I know a comrade that does, and continues to build community that way. So that is how I found myself posited in this particular this industry, or several industries, since there are a couple different hats that I wear, and why I knew that making a community service something that could be a software online, though it's a website currently. The plan is to expand into becoming an app to really streamline the different activations that we can have, communications between activists. If you guys aren't aware, there is a very heavy assault on our ability to reach each other on social media. If you've heard of shadow banning, there are a lot of words that can get you like buried on the timeline and in the algorithm. Just using the word uppercase B Black could get you blocked from being seen from and mobilizing in community. And the reason for that being is specifically because we were able to mobilize in 2020. So they don't want to see no more of that. But Claim Our Space Now, we're very passionate about bringing a solution to folks that are looking for exactly that, to continue to actually have use that steam together and congregate and actually make programs that are local to them. And hopefully with Claim Our Space Now, it can be with any organization, and we mobilize for that too. And that's just precisely why we identify them all across the states.
Great, great. And I love how your seems like your background built you to where you are today, from, you know, you said being a Jehovah's Witness and passing out brochures and now you're doing that to get people to vote and getting you out. So it's just funny, or it's how the universe just works and brings us to the space that we are today. So I know, and you've touched on, you know, how you got involved with the organization, you know, how you started it. So what did you experience to become who you are that ties into the Claim Our Space Now?
I have been suppressed in very, very many ways. Coming up, it ties back to my religious experience. It ties to family life as a Haitian immigrant. Like, there, you know, I wasn't allowed to be out here with my friends, even study dates. Girl, where were you going? Nowhere. So when in the name Claim Our Space Now, it's very intentional to bring that to the forefront, because I can't stand for injustice anywhere. I wish I could tell myself to stop. I actually just resigned from my restaurant gig that I had been committing to yesterday, because there were instances of injustice, microaggressions at the door. I would tell managers, and that, you know, it would never get taken care of. So in terms of liberation work, I've been working to liberate myself since birth. Even I was stillborn. I go back to this story not often enough, but I was kicking, quite literally, through the doors to get into this life here since birth. And you know, I carry that with me every day. When I see injustice, I can't help but stop and make sure that people are not only aware, but are actually activating around it. You know, being real, with everything that's happening in the world right now, and with we're in war times, apparently, as of yesterday, and obviously the things that had led up to it. But how do we continue to talk about the systems that have propagated us into this space? Again, it's all connected. We don't want to say we're the most oppressed, or I mean, I don't need to get up in that. But the point is, we need to build on each other. We're all oppressed in different ways, but how do we make space for the most marginalized in that work and center those voices, and do so consistently, because we're going to find the solutions together, not apart. So that's, you know, that's the work that I continue to do, even if it's like the minute day to day. I'm at work, or I'm walking down the street, somebody checked me, and I have to talk to them real sternly, just very respectfully too. But I wish I could stand up and be like, no, I'm not going to fight today, but I did. I'm a fighter spirit. My mom raised me well.
That's awesome. Awesome. I love your passion. It's really great. So I'm just gonna, you know, make it a little lighter. So in your downtime, what does Marla like to do? Any hobbies you'd like to share with us?
I eat cereal more than the average person does. I go through a lot of boxes. I eat cereal. I am auditioning. I mean, that's less of a hobby and more of my work, my life's work. But you know, I approach life very, very calmly, especially in founding this organization. It's very easy, and Sierra would know this because we work together, to take on all the work as the Black woman that's forging ahead. And it seems like everybody's scattered to the wind, and you know, like not very much interested in saving all Black lives, or any life for that matter beyond their own, because that's what capitalism does. But in terms of like really continuing to find those areas of light that keep me going, I reach out to family, because across those different disciplines, it's very hard to stay, you know, like to delegate or carve out time that is important for me to stay connected to the people that have gotten me to this point. That's a boundary that I've finally cut for myself. I was like, I cannot be working across these, in the arts, in organizing, etc. I want to continue to reach back out and feel that love that I'm pouring into community, because I can't pour it out of an empty cup. So definitely I'll stick to cereal and loving on the people that love me. Those are
any brand or type of cereal that's your favorite?
You can't go wrong with Cap'n Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh.
I love, there's Pops is a throwback, but they always have it stocked up at my supermarket. So I certainly have that.
Yeah.
Any like the Kashi brands, anything like granola, crunchy, I mix them all up. So like it's always a fun time.
That's awesome. Great. Great. Well, I'm gonna see if anyone that's in the room have anything you'd like to say or ask to Marla. Feel free to do so. Put it in the chat. Raise your hand. We can get to you.
Yep, cereal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've seen Miko.
Hi, Marla.
Hi, Karen. Yes, nice to see you.
Yeah, so first of all, when you all put these things on, you know, it's not that we're nervous at all. It's just that this is an element that we don't get everywhere. Like we don't get to see a professional in this space showcase their business and then, you know, have this very personal touch. It just humanizes the work that we do, because like we can be out there trudging forward. But it's good to see and for you to share, because it's, you know, it's on you to be vulnerable to share that. But thanks for the organizers and for you to what a wonderful way to end the week, B, the Black History Month, and B and C, you know, just sharing, like sharing like your journey and your struggle and coming to terms with your faith. Just thanks. It means more. It means a lot.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks to you. And just that Xavier had said, thank you for being you. I am always wrestling with what me is because I was constantly up against the wall, like trying to figure out, and also living several different lives within. That's where I get my acting experience. Like I had to act like I was somewhere when my mama was like, aren't you supposed to be at track practice? And I was like, no, I'm actually hanging out with a boy. So, you know, like there were instances where I had to put on a front and figure out who I was. And so finally being in a space since 2018, not having to put on, that's why I try and keep it as real as possible. Anywhere I go, it's always going to be 100% me. So I really appreciate that comment, Xavier.
Right, got from an elder LGBTQ and AIDS activist. Thank you for taking on the fight. Thanks, Brian.
It's from you.
So any final words that you want to say, and we can just let everybody start their weekend before we go?
For one, I'm getting a lot of the thank yous, and I love the thank yous, but also like you can do it too. There's a way to organize your life around the fight. Even if it's like a dollar you could give, if it's time you can volunteer or donate, your heart extending to a neighbor that you know is in need. It truly does happen on the day-to-day basis, and being intentional about carving out that time. So that's what I'd love to share with everyone, that it's not just the organizers taking on the organization of community, but it's also how do we continue fostering that in our day-to-day lives, because otherwise, what are we organizing for, you know? And so I definitely want to leave y'all with that. And also that you can find us on Instagram at Claim Our Space Now, me at MarlaLou_, and I shared my email, but I can also create or copy paste it after I'm done. But thank you so much for listening in and sharing all the beautiful pictures I was able to tune into before this. And thank you for always sustaining the work.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for taking your time out to be with us today. It's been great getting to know you and your organization. We love your passion. Just a reminder that this whole program today has been recorded. So if you want to share it with others, please feel free to do so. It will also be on the Chamber's YouTube page. And we just want to thank you guys for coming to stop by on this Friday for our Black History Month edition of Sip and Pitch. We are, you know, every month in every group, everybody is important, and we just want to extend that to everyone. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your day and weekend.